Hi, my name is Nico, and over the past 12 years of responding to natural and man-made disasters, I've noticed that people are generally unprepared to evacuate their location in a hurry and get themselves and their loved ones to a place of safety. Now, the chances are pretty slight, but you may have to survive unassisted for over 24 hours, and without a solid plan and a good go bag, that's going to be very difficult. Today, we're going to be looking over a couple items you may want to include in your very own go bag, some things you may want to account for when you're planning, and look over a selection of emergency tools from Kershaw Knives. Well, it's really easy to focus on all the gear that goes inside the bag. I think the most crucial component of a complete system is having a solid plan to begin with. Don't wait till last minute, and don't rely on one way in and one way out of your geographical area. Things like natural disasters and gridlock from other people escaping can force you to change plans at the last minute. In addition to having more than one escape route, it's nice to have more than one means of navigation. While cell phones are very capable navigational devices, batteries can die and cell phone networks can go down. You can combat this by downloading offline maps on your phone and making sure you have a paper copy of a map available. You can even print one off yourself. You'll want to make sure that you choose a bag that's both durable and capable to carry all of your gear without falling apart, and that you'll be able to carry for hours on end without being too uncomfortable. A very comfortable bag is definitely worthwhile and something that's going to pay off in the long run. The very first thing on my packing list is going to be water, as this is hands down the bulkiest and heaviest item on my entire list. That being said, I like to have at least 2 liters of water per person per day that I'm evacuating, but you may need to have more if you're going to cover more distance or if you have hotter weather where you live. You can use your very own water bottles that you fill yourself. However, this does require regular maintenance, as water will stagnate and go bad, potentially leaving you sick while you're evacuating. Not ideal. I like to use these commercially available bottles of water, as they are a great size and require no maintenance and will last for years in your bag. If you have the potential to cover longer distances, I would consider adding water purification tools to your kit. There are a lot of different options out there on the market today, and you'll have to do a little bit of research to see what's best for you, but they essentially boil down to these 3 things right here. First of which, we have water purification tablets, which are the most compact and price-friendly option of the 3 that I've got here today. However, they do leave a little bit of a chemical taste to your water. Next up is the good old water filter, which is a great tool for purifying a lot of water very rapidly, but it's going to be the most expensive. Last but not least, we have the good old stove and pot, which will leave you with a bottle full of hot water. Just keep in mind that in instances of extremely high water contamination, that these tools will not remove the chemicals in the water, and that your safest surest bet is going to be the water that you have in your bag that you know is safe. Unfortunately, the risk of sustaining injuries while evacuating is incredibly high. That's why having a basic plan and some simple materials can make a big difference in getting you and your loved ones to a place of safety. I highly recommend getting a compact first aid kit. Do a little bit of research online and make sure you find one with some good bleeding control materials, some splinting supplies, and some basic medications. You do not need to spend a lot of money on this thing, and even a couple band-aids and a roll of tape can do a big difference. More important than the gear that's inside this pouch is the training. You do not have to be a paramedic or EMT to make a difference. Get in touch with your local fire rescue agency. They can point you in the direction of a course happening near you that can give you some life-saving information and skills that can make a world of difference in an emergency. For injury prevention, there's a couple crucial pieces of PPE that I think should be in every go bag. First of all, I like to keep a whole bunch of medical exam gloves ready to go in my bag. On the same note, I like to have a sturdy set of leather work gloves, which will help keep my hands safe from blisters, abrasions, and cuts. Responding to natural disasters, one of the most common injuries that we consistently see both on people evacuating and on first responders are eye injuries from flying debris and dust. You can easily mitigate this hazard by having a quality set of eye protection, which will help keep your eyes safe. On the same note, especially if you're dealing with high wind situations or if there's a wildfire, there's going to be a lot of dust and ash in the air. An easy way to reduce that irritation in your airway is to have an N95 mask, which will pretty effectively seal out all those flying particulates. The first one of these crucial items that I think every single go bag should have is a light source. Personally, I have at least 2 flashlights in my bag of some variety. I do like to have a headlamp and a separate flashlight. It gives me a little bit more versatility. There are a lot of different lights out there with a lot of different options. Don't go chasing the brightest one with the most lumens, as generally speaking, they have the worst run times. Make sure you have a dependable light from a reliable manufacturer that has a very solid runtime. Usually about 100 to 300 lumens is a great range for just navigating and moving around. The next thing I like to have in my bag is some sort of heat source in the form of a lighter and a ferrocerium rod. Lighters are very easy to get a nice open flame. They're very repeatable and you can click them over and over again and have them work. However, if they get wet or run out of fuel, they're going to be essentially useless. That's where I like the ferrocerium rod, as it will always spark regardless of if it's wet. However, it takes a little bit more finesse and strategy and practice in order to get a good fire going. I think it is absolutely crucial to have a cutting tool of some variety. If for some reason you're in a situation or a location where you're not allowed to have a knife or open blade, I think a set of run-of-the-mill trauma shears is a fantastic tool to have, as they can cut through heavy gauge wire and metal and even cut things like pennies without any problem. As far as knives go, I really like to have a dedicated knife in my bag, something that I'm not gonna have to worry about maintaining or replacing when I'm done using. Even though I have an EDC knife in my pocket at all times I possibly can, I like to have that extra redundancy just in case this one goes missing or breaks. I know I have a knife ready to go in my bag. I think it's a lot easier to get a high quality, budget friendly knife that you can put in your bag and forget about it until you need it. This Kershaw Barricade is a perfect example of that high quality budget knife that's not going to break the bank. It is an emergency ready tool with a solid blade, seatbelt cutter and glass breaker, giving you a little bit more capabilities in case you need to break a car window or cut a seatbelt. Another thing you want to consider is that if you spend a lot of money on a knife and keep it in your bag, you're going to be more tempted to take it out and use it, leading to some wear and tear that you may need to take care of before you put it back and get it back in service. If you want a knife that's a little bit more robust and has some upgraded materials, this Kershaw Blur is a fantastic option. It's got a nice aluminum handle construction with some nice grippy tape there. It's got a nice glass breaker on the end there and is another high quality emergency ready knife that's going to serve you very well. Another option too is a fixed blade. Fixed blades don't have as much complexity when it comes to folding or mechanisms and can stand up to a little bit more abuse when it comes to batoning and creating a little bit of kindling for starting a fire. This Deschutes Skinner is a great little knife that's a very high performer and that's going to treat you very well. Another piece of gear that I think is absolutely indispensable in any go bag is some duct tape. This is about 15 or 20 feet wrapped around this business card here. You really can't substitute it for anything else. And it's so small and compact that there's no excuse not to have at least a little bit of tape on hand. I think it is incredibly important to have a notebook on hand. This particular one is a waterproof notebook, which is great for taking down directions and notes, or if you have to leave a message behind at your car or at your house, you can do so and make sure that somebody knows in which direction you've gone, or if you want to leave some sort of message. On the same note, I like to have a nice waterproof pen. This particular one collapses down to a nice compact size. I think it's nice to have a couple permanent markers on hand, which is nice for writing down notes. And if you want to write something on a window or a car or something like that, it gives you a couple different extra options. Last but not least is the mainstay of every go bag, and that is 550 parachute cord. It has millions upon millions of different uses, and best of all, it's extremely easy to find at almost any outdoor store, and it is very cheap to boot. 25 to 50 feet is a great amount to have for general purposes. Ultimately, your gear bag may look completely different from mine, and that's perfectly okay. As long as you sit down and come up with a basic plan and have a solid strategy before something happens, you'll be much better off than most people stuck alongside you in an emergency situation. If you do end up adding any sort of specific gear to your own go bag that I didn't cover in my video, let us know in the comments down below. It'd be really interested to see what kind of specific tools and equipment you add to deal with your specific situation and environment. If you do find yourself in the need for a quality emergency ready tool, check out Kershaw Knives, which have a very wide selection of awesome tools to get you through almost any situation. Thank you guys so much for watching, and as always, Stay safe out there.